Oh, hey. Didn't see you there. So let's see. We'll jump into midday market recap. Just shrink this window down a little bit. All right, guys. So time for our midday market recap. Today is day 58 of the $583 challenge, and I'm up $4,257.38. Now, this puts me now up just under, right under 110,000 in my in this account that I started on January 1st with $583. So definitely an impressive run here. As you guys know, I had a little bit of a setback. It was on, what was the date? On March 10th, I lost 3,600 or 3,500, and that was the beginning of a 4-day red streak. And during those 4 days, I lost a total of $15,000. So I went from 101,000 down to 87,000. So I was building up, and then I had 4 days where I was pulling back, which obviously wasn't fun. And during those days, you guys can of course go on YouTube and see the recaps for each of those days. Those were days, um, let's see, 46, 47, 48, and 49. And then on day 50, I rebounded with a $2,000 winner. And since day 50, I've now made $22,000. So, and that's $22,000 in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 days. All right. So averaging, a little over $2,200 a day. And, this has been a really good example that's really good for you guys to see of, a trader having a setback, falling into a little bit of a rut, reevaluating, kind of making some adjustments, and then coming out of that red streak with momentum. And now I'm breaking through, fresh highs as my account is in territory it's never been at before. So this is something that every trader, every one of you will experience at one point or another, where you have a little bit of a red streak, or you make some mistakes, or whatever it is. And the problem for a lot of beginner traders is that it can get you kind of rattled, where you start to think, you know, start to get desperate, you start to get emotional. Something we talked about in class 1 of the day trade course last night was the challenge as a trader between thinking with your emotional mind and thinking with your intellectual mind. As a trader, we have to be always thinking with our intellectual mind. We have to be looking at setups and making these analysis, risk reward analysis. If I risk $1,000, do I have the potential to make 2,000? If I risk 10,000, can I make 20,000? When you start being emotional, when you're thinking emotionally, when you're trading emotionally, that's when you start to do things like you get impulsive. You start to chase momentum. You buy stocks that are way too high, and then suddenly, you get yourself on the wrong side of the trade. Now, your intellectual mind would look at that setup, a day later and say, "Oh, I chased it," but in the moment, you were all emotion. And learning to recognize some of those kind of triggers that can start to get you into that emotional trading cycle is really important, because even for me, there are times where I've traded. I mean, obviously, for sure, there are times where I've traded emotionally, but even in the last 3 months, there are times where I've allowed emotions to get the better of me, and it's cost me money. Becoming aware of it is probably the first step. Having that sense, having that mindfulness and that presence of self to say, okay, I'm starting to get, emotional right now. I'm starting to get angry. I'm starting to get frustrated. This is a good time for me to step back. A lot of traders, especially beginner traders, and this was no exception for myself, instead of stepping back, we just get more tunnel vision on kind of whatever the issue is, on the revenge trade, on chasing, on getting back what you lost. And, you can get so tunnel vision that you don't realize left and right you're losing thousands and thousands of dollars. I talked to a trader who lost $600,000 in a single day trading emotionally with revenge. So, you think, well, I used to think, well, at a certain point, I'm just going to lose so much money that it'll be like, I'll finally tell myself I need to straighten up. But I don't think that's true. I think that you only are able to become disciplined by conscientiously taking over, control of your mind and saying, I'm not going to allow myself to trade impulsively. I'm not going to allow myself to trade, in an emotional state of mind. So becoming aware of your state of mind anytime you take a trade is one of the exercises that we talked about last night. We're going to continue that discussion tonight, Chapter 2, Class 2, Risk Management. Last night's class was 3.5 hours long. I'll be uploading it this afternoon to the website so you guys can start streaming it. Tonight's class will be a long one as well. Risk management is one of the most important topics, and you guys need to understand how you can manage your risk. Trading is risky. Losing $15,000 in 4 days is not fun. Making back $22,000 in 9 days is great, but it doesn't come without risk. And so you have to measure that risk against the potential for a profit. So my trades today are all really good examples, I think, of risk management. I took a total of, I think it was 3 trades. The first one was on CBIO. CBIO, even right now, I think is up close to 200%. This is a crazy momentum stock. And what we've seen in the last few days have been, some really big opportunities. We had HTGM last week and early this week. We had APOP yesterday. Today, CBIO. Now, CBIO was, I would say, fairly obvious pre-market that it was going to be in play. But like APOP, it was quite extended. So I looked at this and I was thinking, okay, when the bell rings, I will get in at $8. That's what I was looking at pre-market. I had my order ready, 2,500 shares to get in at $8. And I probably would have pressed it twice and had 5,000 shares. But just before the bell rings, we popped up to 839. And this is on the 1-minute chart, just before the bell rings. And so now I was like, oh, if I get in with 2,500 shares at 850, and it drops right back down to 8, down to 775, this could be a repeat of what happened on RGSE, right? Remember the trade I took where I lost $15,000 in 1 day earlier this year? I just got totally smoked. I got into a stock just like this. I chased it. I saw it moving and I thought, you know what? I'll just buy it higher. It looks strong. I think it's going to probably go to 9 or 10. I'm just going to buy it higher. Well, in this case, it would have worked. In the case of RGSE, it didn't work. The reality is you never want to put yourself in a position where you could potentially lose, $7,500 or $15,000 or whatever it is. You never want to put yourself into a trade that you don't have proper risk-reward ratio. And on this trade, I didn't have a good entry. So at 8:39, when the bell rang and popped up to 9, at that point, I really didn't feel like I was able to manage risk. I looked at it spiking up and I was like, well, I need to wait on this one for the first pullback. If I get in here at 850, I'm buying it to extended, so I need to give it a second to pull back. All right, so let's see. I'm going to just look at my execution window here. So my first trade on this, we pop up to a high on this candle of 962 on the 1-minute chart. And then we pull back here. So I'll show you guys who are watching on Facebook Live. Here's my daily gains. $4,251. Those are the 2 trades, 2 stocks I traded. And here's CBIO. So right in the first 2 minutes, we spiked up from $8 all the way up to $9.62. And of course, there's some of you in the room who got in at 8 or 8.50 and made, a couple $1,000s before I was even getting in. But I said I'm going to wait for this candle to close. And when this candle closed, I said my entry will be at 950, which is the high of that second green candle, 950. My proper stop would be the low of that candle, although realistically, I'll probably stop out closer to 925 if it doesn't go right away. So I get in there at 950, and what happens next? We spike up to 1090. That's $1.40. Spiked up there to 1090, and then here we were at 1060, and then this candle we dropped back down. So I sold it, took my profit, and it was like I think it was like $1,100 or $1,400 or something like that. It wasn't the biggest winner ever, but it wasn't bad. So then obviously I'm kind of like, okay, well, I don't know if I want to get in here because we just had that red candle. Of course, then it pops up to 1175, and I was like, well, it's obviously showing strength. Pull back here, but I didn't really want to get in there again because I felt like I couldn't manage risk, and it goes up to 12. So, this is basically what happened. It just keeps going up without really giving much of a pullback. And then finally squeezing up to a high of 1750. And I was like, geez, Louise, hindsight being 2020, I wish that maybe I'd been able to, do better on this. But the reality is, I need to be able to manage my risk on every trade I take. And if I can't, then I can't justify the position. So, CBIO is just, on a tear from $8 all the way up to $17, which is, it's crazy. It really is crazy. And I could have been more aggressive. Now, I was having a connection issue with my computer this morning, and I don't know if it was my Wi-Fi or if it was my connection to my broker, but what was happening was all of a sudden my level 2 would freeze. And I have two level 2 windows because I have Speed Trader on one computer, and then I have eSignal on the other. So my Speed Trader would stop, 100% stop, no quotes, nothing. Meanwhile, SureTrader or eSignal is, the quotes are running. So I'm like, okay, I've lost connection. I'm having some connection issue. That happened in my trade on CBIO, in my first trade, and I realized immediately this was going to be a little bit of an issue because I was putting out my orders to sell. I never even saw the price go as high as 1090 on this spike because when it went that high, I was disconnected. When it came back, it was right here around 1030. So I sold around 1015 and 1025. I actually made, let's see, I can tell you right now. I actually made $1,800 on that trade. I was in at 950 and I sold at 1024. So 75 cents per share, 7% gain, not bad. I got back in this at, let's see, $15, and let me find where that trade was. So that was right around 10 a.m. All right, so 10 a.m. here, we squeeze up and we were halted. All right, so right here you can see we had the halt at, halt price was 15.23, and I said if it opens lower, I will add over 15.23. It opened lower, and as it came back up through 15, I was like, okay, this looks good. I'm going to jump in here, 15.10. Now I got in knowing I was having a problem with my connection. And as soon as I got in, I told you guys like, okay, I can't see my quotes. I've got nothing. And so I'm looking over at eSignal, and I see my quotes are going there. And so I was like, okay, I can see the price, but I can't do anything. I can't sell. I only had 500 shares. I took small size because I knew this was going to be a problem. In at 15.10, I sold it at 16.10. So made $1 per share, quick $1 per share as it spiked up to a high of 17.50. So that brought me from 1,800 up to $2,222. So, overall, I'm happy with the way I traded it. We got a little bit of a pullback here, and I said, guys, watch this level over 16.32. Some traders, when that breaks, are going to get back in it. Interestingly, we kind of curled back up, and then finally we squeezed up in these two candles over 16. But it was a little choppy because this was the candle that broke, and it was a false break. Pulled back, didn't work, consolidating. But note that the price held above the 20 moving average on the 1-minute chart. On the 5-minute, we were still very extended during this 5-minute pullback. So the first 5-minute candle to make a new high as a result was not a very solid breakout. And notice the declining volume on the 5-minute chart. You don't want to see declining volume. You want to see volume increasing during, well, it's okay if it's declining during consolidation, but on the breakout, you want to see the volume to be higher than the first move. That's when you know the stock is still running. So, when that's not the case, then obviously it's a problem. So in any case, high a day on this was 1888. I didn't capture as much profit on it as I could have. I could have been a lot more aggressive trading the 1-minute setups and trying to scalp, get in, get out, get in, get out. You can see after each one of these red candles, I could have gotten in here, I could have gotten in right here, and I could have gotten in, in this area here. And, obviously I would have done a little bit better if I had been more aggressive. I know John made about $6,000 on this trade today, and it put him up over $100,000 on the year, which is, really great. I'm really happy to see him doing so well. So certainly there were traders in the room that did better on this one than me, but, I took the two trades that I just pointed out were both low risk trades. The higher risk one certainly was after the halt, but it made sense. That's a good setup. And this trade here, the first 1 minute candle to make a new high, was a good setup. So I feel good about those trades. They were relatively low risk with good reward potential, and I would take them, time and time again. Now, as CBIO was running, all of a sudden IMUC popped up on the scanner. And when I saw that one, immediately I was like, okay, it's got a good daily chart. It has a history of making some moves. And what we've seen in the last couple days have been sympathy moves. So we see the primary stock making the big move, and then the sympathy stock that starts to take off. I think we had, we had GBR yesterday. The day before that, we had, I think it was ZAIS. The day before that, we had, I think it was XOMA. So we kind of see a primary stock with momentum, and then the next one that starts to go has often been getting really good follow through. Now this one, for whatever reason, did not follow through as well as I would have liked. I got in it as I saw it starting to spike up with an average of 332. So 332 is my average, which is right up here. We popped up to a high of 360, and right here I said, okay, I want to see the first 1 minute candle make a new high, and we got to break over 360. And what interestingly happened on this one is we popped up, we double topped at 360. There was a heavy seller at 360, and we couldn't break that level, and we came back down. So I marketed out of this thing, getting filled in the 50s, but my average was like 40, 45 or something like that. So not the best follow through, but I was aggressive, got in, was looking for the bigger move. We had about 30 cents of total profit from my entry at 330, but we couldn't hold those levels. So that one pulled back, and then has been now actually, kind of making a move back up into the 30s. So we'll see. This one might be one to watch tomorrow for continuation. I'm not totally sure, but in any case, right now we seem to be in a market with a lot of opportunities. I mean, we're seeing some really strong momentum. Now, this is also a market where you can kind of get away with breaking rules. Like if you had chased CBIO today, you probably would have done just fine on it. But you do that another day, and you're going to get smoked. So you want to make sure you don't fall into the routine of kind of breaking rules or being sloppy. Maintain your discipline. It'll carry you through the inevitable slow periods that we have. But when we have a hot kind of trading window that we seem to have right now, it's a good time to be aggressive. Try to capitalize on it as much as possible, and know that those profits will have to tide you, through some of those slow periods that will come. So I'm glad, after that $15,000 drawdown, that I've been able to, go back on this green streak. Ultimately, I would want to get to at least $30,000 before my next, kind of cold streak, so that way my green streak is twice as big as my red streak. So down 15, and then recovering that 15 and making another 15. And then if I come down, 15, I recover that 15, go up another 15. That's continuing to move up in increments that I can feel pretty good about. So that's kind of where we're at today, end of day 58, and hopefully we'll continue to see some good opportunities. I mean, I see no reason why we won't. It's been really pretty impressive, and this is a great way to finish up the month. So I'm now at just under $34,000 on the month, and we'll see if I can maybe get over 40,000. That would be nice, but we would need at least two more really good days, 3 more really good days probably to do it, and we have 4 more days in the month. So we'll see what we can do, and I'll try to be aggressive and really have a great week here. I'm up right now about $9,000 on the week. All right, so that's it for today. I will upload this to YouTube, and anyone with questions or comments, you can put them in the YouTube comment section, and I'll make sure I answer them. All right, right. Sorry, 3 more days in the month. I didn't write down the gains for today. So day 58 plus 42.51. All right, so 3 more days. So if I can average, $2,000 a day, 2,500 a day, that'll get me up over 40,000. But if I have a red day, it might be a little setback. So we'll just see what we can do. All right, guys. So that's it for now, and I will see you all first thing tomorrow morning.
Let's be honest. If you made it this far, you must have really enjoyed that video. So what's stopping you? Subscribe right here and get email alerts anytime I upload new content. Until then, happy surfing!